Hello everyone, Prime here. Today we're going to be going over the post-launch trailer, all of the tidbits and information, lore-wise and otherwise, for Assassin's Creed. See, Ubisoft released this little sort of update video that's going over everything that they'll try to launch between the launch of the game and, well, a few months after that. The first thing they mentioned is the Season Pass, and it will include 3 DLC episodes, sort of 2 separate stories for the Season Pass that have been revealed so far. So that's 6 episodes total.
Similar to how you anticipate a TV show's season premiere or catch up on streaming services, we're going to continuously provide new gameplay for players to look forward to.
The first one is Legacy of the First Blade. I think a lot of fans were under the impression, even after Assassin's Creed Origins, that the First Blade originated from Persia, or was probably created in Persia, had something to do with Persia, purely because of the fact that the first person, or the first documented person rather, who used a blade and actually successfully killed someone with it was a man called Darius, and he actually killed the Persian ruler Xerxes first. Now in our world, this Xerxes was murdered by a member of his own royal bodyguard. So as the Assassin's Creed games like to play with parts of mythology or history, it's not too far-fetched to think that this Darius was one of these bodyguards and that's how he was able to do it. Now the man that they show off a little to us is most likely Darius, probably Darius, doesn't necessarily have to be Darius, might not be Darius, but it's probably Darius. And through this DLC for the new Assassin's Creed game, we might actually get to go to Persia. Assassin's Creed Origins was a massive game. You know, it had different parts that were showing off sort of a Greekish world in Egypt itself. It's possible we could travel over to Persia. We traveled over to different parts of the world in Origins, and that was mostly based in Egypt. So yeah, that's kind of funny because Xerxes is murdered during a conflict that the Greeks were having with the Persians, actually during the second invasion of Greece by the Persians, around about the time where one of his major naval battles, or just a significant major naval battle against the Greek forces, didn't go well for the Persians. That was around the time that his bodyguard decided to, end him. And as we know, Assassin's Creed Origins is going to be linked or set during the time of the Peloponnesian War. So it's very possible that we can actually see these things come together very nicely. We might have a hand in Xerxes' death itself. We might actually have a chance to prevent Xerxes' death, though I don't see why we'd want to, being Greek ourselves, and most likely not wanting to help the Persians in any significant way, considering the fact that they would be invading Greece if we are to partake in the story. So yeah, but we'll have to wait and see, as this is the first we're hearing of it, and we don't have all that many details on it. And next up we have the fate of Atlantis. Now, in the Atlantic Ocean, there was a civilization of powerful aquatic people who were quite noble. Of course, lived within the sea itself. They didn't initially have too much contact with, the land dwellers, right? Us, the Greek world. And Poseidon made the city his home. Poseidon being the Greek god of the ocean, the sea, the waters, right? Thanks to the accessibility to the people of natural resources, the people of Atlantis became very, very wealthy. And the city itself was a great location for trading and things like that. Commerce. Now, Poseidon himself met a mortal woman named Cleito, who he did things with, and eventually they had multiple children. Those children went on to lead sections of the city. Those children eventually went on to lead this underground sea land, and Atlantis ruled Atlantis. He was the firstborn, of course, and in the city that he ruled over himself, he had a temple dedicated to Poseidon. Within that temple, there was a statue that found Poseidon riding winged horses on a chariot. It must have looked pretty sweet. So we'll probably see a nod to that in-game, maybe. Poseidon himself was a bit of an egotistical god. Then again, the Greek gods generally weren't exactly the most humble of chaps, but, the myths don't paint them all in the best light. I'm only bringing this up because in Assassin's Creed Origins, we have those recurring quests where we fight some of the Egyptian deities. Also, why wouldn't they repeat the same thing here and have us fight Poseidon in one way or another? It's just a possibility. That's the only reason why I'm mentioning it. Now, Atlantis itself was taken down a peg by the gods and the Athenian people. See, on the gods' end, they saw it fit to punish the Atlanteans because they were getting a bit too greedy, a bit too out of hand, so Zeus decided to just flood those guys, sending them further onto sea, or, just letting the sea wash them all away, that sort of thing. And the Athenians, they took part by actually fighting the Atlanteans on the ground in combat. So you can imagine what kind of godly creatures will be fighting probably the Atlanteans themselves. And the legendary secrets of the Sunken City? Well, perhaps that could be the sorts of reasons as to why these guys felt so pompous and greedy and kind of gave the gods and the people a reason to want to confront them and take them down a peg. Or, well, in the case of the actual story, take them down a lot of pegs to the bottom of the ocean, no return. Of course, the city of Atlantis itself was a myth created by Plato, so it's of course going off of the more mythological side of Assassin's Creed rather than the more outright historical side, but hey, I really liked Origins for what it was, and, well, that enjoyed a lot of mythology. So that DLC, The Fate of Atlantis, will be coming out sometime during spring of 2019, apparently, and the Legacy of the First Blade will be coming out sometime during December of 2018, this year. So yeah, I look forward to that. Now on top of that, Ubi also announced Assassin's Creed 3, its remaster. I never actually played a lot of the original Assassin's Creed games. I went for a bit of Black Flag, but I didn't play many of them. So this is nice for people like me. And they're also planning on expanding on the lore of the games by releasing sort of these little episodic tales, the Lost Tales of Greece, that, as they say, it's free content that's going to be going over the lore behind the Assassin's Creed games, specifically, of course, the lore behind Assassin's Creed Odyssey in this sort of time period, but hey, it's extra lore, it's extra content, I'm sure we won't say no to it, right? And the last things that they mentioned were the reoccurring in-game events. You know, these are probably going to be very similar to the reoccurring events that we get in Assassin's Creed Origins, where it's like, specifically in Origins, you know, you have to keep fighting the Egyptian gods like Sobek, Anubis, Sekhmet. These are going to be something different. It looks like they're focusing this weekly occurring content around the naval battling and all of that stuff. This is a tiny bit disappointing for me personally, purely because I didn't find the naval combat in any of the Assassin's Creed games to be that special or exciting. Or at least, to be fair, I didn't play that much of Black Flag's naval combat, and Assassin's Creed Origins naval combat. I thought it was fairly meh, to be honest. The ship combat and all that stuff. Meh to me. But I don't know, maybe this one will surprise me, give me something new to look at and fun. I don't know, but it's what the recurring events are going to be based around, it seems. I'm sure those won't be the only recurring events, but yeah, more recurring events. If you remember, in Assassin's Creed Origins, you could pay for this special currency and get these armors that they would release. I'm not sure how frequently they'd release these armors, but they would put these new armors into the game, and you could buy them with real currencies, you know, like different outfits and sets and things like that. You know, that's nothing too new, I guess. I suppose it's not unexpected for them to do that, so yeah, it's confirmed to be going into the game now, so yay, I guess. The last few snippets of clips we got were reveals of different types of monsters. You know, we saw like a giant-esque looking creature and another Medusa-looking creature type thing. I think perhaps it was a Cyclops of some kind, but I mean, that's just more confirmation that they're going to be delving more into the sort of mythological side of the games. There's a massive back catalogue of different creatures they can use from Greek mythologies and Greek myths that they can use. Things like giants, cyclopses, different types of beasts like the manticore, and well-known ones like the Minotaur, you know, different things like that. So they've got a lot of options of things they can use. I know just from me saying that it doesn't seem like there's that much, but there's a lot. There's a lot more than I can come up with on the spot. So, yeah. But yeah, that was more or less the video. What do you think? Are you excited for The Fate of Atlantis and Legacy of the First Blade? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. And if you enjoyed the video and want to see more content like this, go ahead and leave a like, because it does help a bunch. And of course, when you're here, like what I did here, like what I do generally, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. And till the next video, have a very good day. I have been Prime, and I'll see you guys in the next one.